I gotta make it change. And I think I don't care about
Write plans to make a new report. Grind hard and turn my basement to a jewelry store. If you don't do it for your kids, then who you do it for? I'm trying to read and learn some shit I never knew before. Focus on investments. Build me up some new resorts.
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Jamaica. What's happening? What's up, y'all?
Our new intro
What's
music is what's happening.
Focus
Is
Friday.
the new intro music that by the one and only Sean Young.
I mean, I've been trying to get some intro music
It's
in
true.
for some time.
That-
I don't know
that's
how it
very-
sounds to y'all, but I certainly needed just a little bit of music, man.
It does set the vibe for the morning. I think you are right. And so as we get started today on this Focus Friday, with a number of things that we have to talk about. You know, we talk about 3 things each week. It's been our new trend.
That's our new trend.
3 things. We're going to do a recap of Mother's Day weekend, the community voices at City Council,
That's right.
and then really looking forward to talking about mainstream media. Whose story are they telling?
Absolutely.
It's going to be hard to wait to get to that part.
I
We're probably going to go quickly through some of the other stuff.
All of it kind of informs that last part for sure. And I think we have another thing to talk about because there was something very interesting that happened yesterday.
I think it's going to come up with media.
Okay, I'm
they
just
weren't
saying
there.
there was something very interesting that happened yesterday.
There was a candidate forum yesterday.
Yeah,
there was.
All the school board candidates got together.
For Schenectady.
Answered a bunch of questions.
Yes, League of Women Voters.
League of Women Voters.
Shout out League of Women Voters.
So we usually do 3, but there might be 3 in a possible today, right? For all you spades players, you know how that goes.
I don't play spades, and I still got that reference. That was really great. I'm like, I know what that means. So yes, it is a morning for us to talk about some things as we reflect on our local community always, and talk about how we're all connected. It was Mother's Day's weekend this past weekend, so happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. We had the honor and privilege of being at a very special event on Hamilton Hill.
Yeah, that was, and I had the honor and privilege of helping set up. So helping to set up the event, the tables, the chairs, the art center. I forget all the collaborators for that event, but I know it was mainly,
I think as long as we remember the art center, Seat Center, and Schenectady Foundation,
I think those are the main.
We're pretty good.
Yeah, we're pretty good. But it was really. I think the park needed it. So if you don't know what we're talking about, we're talking about a mural reveal that happened in Jerry Burrell Park.
Through Your Mother's Eyes.
Through Your Mother's Eyes.
Bianca Delilah.
Really nice paintings of some well-known African American figures and their moms.
Yeah. And
Martin Luther King, Jerry Burrell himself, Emmett Till, his mom, George Floyd, and it was something special to see. And I love the little corridor because it's on the path, and you got the paintings on each side of the path. It was nice.
So Jerry Burrell Park is the Hamilton Hill Park, and we know that park. Like that was our park growing up. And if you have been to the park before, there's 2 different playgrounds, there's basketball courts, there's a newly finished tennis court that actually now has nets up. So thank you to the city for putting nets up. And there's a path from the tennis courts to the basketball courts.
Yeah.
And along that path, Bianca Delilah created these beautiful murals that you discussed. And she spoke that day about why she chose those figures for a Mother's Day remembrance as we recognize Black families, Black history, Black culture in a historically Black community, and the call for liberation and justice.
Yeah.
There is a long history in Hamilton Hill for the fight for justice. And her connection, the paintings are amazing. If you have to go see them. You have to go see them.
Listen, if you go to our page.
That's also true.
Yeah, if you go to our page, we've got plenty of images of the event, the day, the paintings, the people that were there. You could see a bit of all that. But I would say also take some time to go down to Jerry Burrell It's by where the old tennis courts used to be,
Yep.
next to where they got the child's playground and like workout kind of
Oh, yeah.
jungle gym
Yes.
thing sitting
Yep.
there. I would say take time, go down and check it out, and witness the brilliance of that artist, Delilah, right? Delilah.
Yeah, and if you haven't already seen the post on our Facebook or Instagram page at Untitled and Free, go to those pages because then you find the links to Bianca Delilah's pages.
Yeah.
And like and follow Bianca Delilah, a young Black artist that is just getting started. Although I did get to hear the story about the first painting she did.
What was that?
On her aunt's wall in lipstick when she was 6.
I don't know if that was a painting.
Oh no, her
that might
aunt.
have been vandalism.
Nope. Listen, her aunt was there.
Okay.
And she was like, nope, I can say she got her beginning on my wall.
Okay.
So,
all right.
And I appreciate someone that
I don't
can
know
say
if she
that
was saying that
as
day
a
though. that
yeah.
she
I was gonna say,
like, come on, like
as a
that
mother,
sound like a nice story, but I'm like, listen, lipstick on my, come on now.
as a mother who has had paintings on walls by young children, in the moment you are not going, oh my gosh, they're gonna be an artist. So no, Malia, don't paint on the walls. So but Mother's Day weekend, like for me, it was really great to be there on that Saturday, leading up to the Sunday celebrations and all those types of things, and hopefully other folks had a chance to appreciate their moms.
Yeah. See, Arthur Butler's here. What's happening?
Good morning.
What's happening, Arthur? Good morning, and good morning, Amira.
Good morning, Amira.
Who always here. I appreciate you, Amira.
Listen, ride or die.
That's right.
And playing. So if anybody else had special Mother's Day celebrations or activities, I know Tulip Fest was last weekend as well.
Yeah.
Share it, drop a link, tell us a photo that we missed. Because we are moving on to, as we look at our local community.
Yeah.
Community voices.
Community voices.
Community voices at City Council. Also, I'm going to throw an audible and community voices at board meetings, school board meetings in Albany.
Okay. All right. You want to swing off with the Albany, or you want to jump right into the many residents of the city of Schenectady, Black, brown, white, or different, who showed up on the City Hall steps.
On the steps.
To either lend their voice or simply their presence for the cause of a ceasefire in Gaza and a cause for peace.
Yeah.
Many people told their stories of family members. Some people who lived in Gaza, lived in the West Bank, talked about what's happening there, talked about the impact of what's happening now on them and their families and the community, and talked about how that acknowledgement from City Hall about what's happening there, but what's happening to them here because of what's going on there is so important to them.
Yep.
With so many wonderful, what was the word? Just like words of bravery,
yes,
of heart, of caring and passion, both on the City Hall steps and then inside the City Hall at the City Council meeting.
Yeah,
it was very impressive, and that also was something that you can go look at if you go to the City Hall's YouTube page or whatever.
Yeah, so
City Council meeting is recording of it.
It is. So City Council meetings for Schenectady and Albany are recorded, just like school board meetings for Schenectady and Albany are recorded, aired live on YouTube channels for them respectively.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, one of many interesting things for me is while we've spent 2 months now going to City Council and calling for a ceasefire resolution and why it's important, and that Barbara Smith was in attendance for the press conference as well as spoke at the City Council meeting.
If you don't know who Barbara Smith
then
is,
I don't know how you're on our page.
Actually, legendary, advocate, activist,
Black feminist,
yeah,
civil rights leader, started doing work in the 60s as a young person. But she was at the press conference and she spoke at the City Council meeting and highlighted that 100 cities have passed ceasefire resolutions. So this is not like some oddity or something that is outside of, some realm of reality. But I want to lift up, because I'm not sure folks understand, the ceasefire resolution that has been presented is the first ever acknowledgement of the death of Israeli citizens and other civilians on October 7th.
Mm.
The city council hadn't, made any statements prior, and here is this wonderful opportunity for them to acknowledge it, and to say we condemn all violence, which is the message. The message is clear. It is a ceasefire for all, is an end to all death and suffering and starvation and all of those horrible things that are happening in Gaza as well as the West Bank. And that there should not be the death that we've seen. And so I appreciate the work of so many individuals that are taking the time to have these conversations, both publicly and privately, to figure out how we continue to move forward. Because it is about peace.
It is about peace
and life,
and it is about peace and life, and I think it's also important to see peace and life, absolutely. But the fact that like we're taking so much, the time it's taking for us to even set this up, and this was said at the city council meeting, right?
Yep.
Like the time that this is being discussed about, how do you kind of say you want peace and life for everyone without it being problematic in some ways? And I think it's important that dialogue happens, absolutely. But and it's not like these words will in and of themselves will stop what's happening there, but like lending our voice to what Dr. King's the arc of justice, right? The universe bends towards justice, right? We bend it towards justice, and I feel like our voices being lent to that is extremely important to say what we stand for as a community. And I'm just a little bit in my feels today because I'm watching all this stuff that's happening this morning about the siege of Rafah right now, and how the borders are closed and they're being forced to move, and it's being bombed, and it's just killing. And I'm just like, this stuff is it's just beyond what you would think would be like a problem for someone to say, well, this needs to stop. Right. Yeah. Like it's clearly like history is going to recording everything that's happening right now. Yeah. And history will be, I believe, very unkind to people who thought that like this was okay. Yeah. I'll put it like that.
And the number of Schenectady residents who have continued to lend their voices, the growing number of Schenectady residents, because some folks want to, they're not from Schenectady. Remember that in 2020? That say, it's not us. No, it is us. It is us. It is Schenectady residents and a growing number of Schenectady residents that are speaking out, but as well as, who's mad at Dr. King because he went to Montgomery.
But you do know that is one of the most used lines. Yes. For activist protests, to say that, oh, it's not our people, it's outside agitators. That's you know what I mean? So it's like we don't have the problems, other people coming and saying that we have a problem.
And it is a local issue, and there are local impacts to which has been discussed repeatedly. But I'm going to bring it to Albany, right? We talk about this isn't happening here. Why are we talking about it here? Why does it matter? Yeah. There's a very pointed reason why it matters. So in Albany, at a Montessori school in the Albany City School District, earlier in May, a third grader, small Palestinian child, drew in chalk a Palestinian flag and Free Palestine. Mm. That child,
third grades,
what? Let's see, Romans 8, 9, 8-ish, 8. So let's say 8. Let's say an 8-year-old Palestinian child was drawing in chalk and drew a Palestinian flag, and the teachers, and I'm taking some latitude here, freaked out, erased it, and the principal sent a letter saying, "I'm sorry. I'm really cutting this down." Mm-hmm. The media, back on May 9th, Channel 6, no less, published a story about a letter went home because of this. You know where I didn't see the media? And I mean mainstream media, because we're going to talk about this next, right? Where we didn't see media show up is the Albany City School Board meeting that just happened last night, where the superintendent and the leaders of the school board apologized and talked about the importance. Shout out to Tabitha and President Smith and member Mann, like they're just some wonderful Black women who said some really powerful and important things at the board meeting about the need to be constant learners and keep growing and learning, and to be inclusive and respectful of everyone. But it was an apology because what those teachers and that principal did were wrong. I don't see mainstream media talking about that.
I mean, and this is what we're going to talk about in a second. Like,
Now,
you know, what people decide, you know, to talk about versus what they don't talk about is an actual intentional decision, right? It's important that people understand that when you're looking at news or looking at any storytelling, we're looking at us, for instance, right?
Yeah.
We're intentional about what we're talking about. We get to decide what it is we're going to talk about, and the same thing goes for any other folks attempting to talk about what's happening in the community, and that includes our major papers, Times Union and the Gazette, and all these the major channels here. They're deciding what's important and what's not.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why we do this, right, and so much that we do is because we understand that the perspectives that we're sharing isn't shared broadly anywhere else, right? So what we're trying to do is at least lend some voice, right, to what's happening from our perspective in our communities, and we're talking about the things that aren't being talked about in the same way in other platforms.
Yeah, it's actually quite disturbing, but unfortunately not surprising.
Yeah,
that 6, 10, 13 Spectrum, TU, Daily Gazette claim to be journalists, but journalism isn't telling your story, it's telling the story. I've been in a position where a reporter will call me and say, "Hey, Jamaica, I want to tell this story," and tell me what it is.
They want to say.
Yes, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
telling a
right.
story about,
That's
and I'm
right.
just like making this part up. I'm telling a story about how Black kids don't have crayons. I made that up. Where did you get that? Like, you know, why do you think that's relevant? Why do you think that's relevant? Where did that information come from? Is, you know, there's some community voice that, like, why? And it's not.
It's not a story that's organically happening out of something. Oftentimes I've seen it's not a story organically that happened in the community that's being reported on. It's often a story that's been created that lends a particular narrative. But there's two different ways that we're talking about, like the stories that are reported on versus a story that's being created for whatever purpose. It's still about who is deciding what gets told versus what doesn't get told. And thinking about what gets reported on, like thinking about the protests, the rallies, the conversations, discussions, all of it. Like, for instance, all the people that came out in the community and stood in front of City Hall the other day to talk about, you know, why, you know, what's happening overseas is impacting them and why they want it to stop, and all these stories. And the media was notified to come out, every single one of them.
And the only one to report on it, Sanctuary for Independent Media.
Sanctuary for Independent Media reported on what happened on the outside
and on the inside.
But did we have one other that's reported on the inside? I thought it was something else reported on the inside as well. Daily Gazette. Yeah. So my point is that, like, you had, you know, and then even how those stories are told.
Right. Yeah. Your bias is showing.
The bias shows, and it's like, that's why it's important for us to be here to talk about these things, but also important for y'all to, like, critically think through what you're seeing. Don't just accept what it is that you're seeing out of your mainstream media, because what the mainstream media is doing versus what we're seeing in other platforms, man, it's actually shameful.
Yeah. What stories do folks actually want to hear about, right? Like I'm legitimately asking this question right now. What is the story? Like, what information is it that you want to know about? Is it what's happening local in communities? Is it events? Is it news stories? Is it the police blotter that, when police put out a statement, the media simply repeat the statement put out by police? That's not journalism. That's copy and paste.
It's copy and paste, yeah.
That's by no means journalism. And we send out press advisories.
Yeah.
Press advisory went out for what was happening at City Hall.
Yeah.
And I had one reporter say to me, "Oh, yeah, I have to go someplace else. But if you send video and pictures to the newsroom, they'll put it together."
Do their job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Jamaica, if you do the reporting and send it to us, maybe we'll then put it out there.
But what you're saying, what you're speaking to is the level of importance or value.
Yes.
Right? That, this particular person put on what was happening there. And unfortunately, these are the mainstream media outlets that we have, and we don't have a lot of alternatives, and we need some.
And
we need alternatives.
And
man.
Thank you to Sanctuary for Independent Media, Hudson Mohawk Magazine, Moses, and others that every single day, and I do mean every single day, they've got their online their podcasts that they're doing, articles that they're sharing. They really are trying, but we're talking about a drop of water in a bucket.
Yeah.
And the need to have more and to have support for the independent media that we have.
Yeah.
I dare say we are independent media.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, yeah.
Welcome to the news, folks. Welcome to the news.
Welcome to the community news. That's how we're going to lead off. We're going to start off.
I like that.
The community news.
Welcome to the community news.
Okay.
I think I'm liking that.
You might have started
Focus Friday. Welcome to the community news.
But just getting further into the topic, man, I think that, one, it's imperative that a media platform is developed that speaks to the topics and issues that we have concerns about, that many in our community have concerns about.
Yeah.
We don't often just come and just make, okay, this is we're locked in, intertwined with a lot of what's happening in the community. So we come up here and we talk about that.
Yes.
Stuff, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's a perspective that is very valuable, just not being shared broadly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we don't have the resource, the money, the platform, the history, et cetera, to actually make that happen. But it's not like it can't happen. And I'm saying that, for me, I've been thinking about this for a while. When you look at all the things that we consume, right, in this community, we're not, especially for marginalized, communities that have been marginalized, communities that have been historically kind of divested from and left out, blah, blah, blah. We need those platforms to invest in ourselves, right?
Yeah.
To have the conversations about what's happening in our community, to break it down, like why, parents, the issues happening in school, parents, the issues that's happening, families happening with jobs and the community. And a brother was telling me yesterday about sidewalks. Like, yo, why are the sidewalks did he so twisted? I'm sure of city council.
Did he say where?
Off the top of my head, it's like out in Mount Pleasant somewhere. I think.
Yeah. Tell them to walk on Union Street. They're perfectly fine.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But that's also where we consider value at. You know what I mean? It all kind of parallels with each other. Some of what we talk about in the news media and where we invest our dollars.
And I was trying to look real quick because we have talked about this for a really long time, about the media, about who's telling our stories. And back in 2020, we created a workshop about it. we did and worked with WAMC out in Wisconsin to help them, because one of the concerns they were being proactive, is that they didn't want to be another media source that was telling someone else's story without it being told from the vision of the people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Times Union did the same thing.
Yeah. And so we worked with them to talk about, here's how to think about it. Here's the difference it makes when you actually are being in community with a community.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? and just as a point of fact, there was a lot of interest in 2020 about a whole lot of things that in
Yeah.
2024 we ain't got.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all noticed, like it's a whole lot different. All the Black Lives Matter shirts and all of the different kind of posts that were up and all the different views, like a lot of that is gone by the wayside, and people have moved on to the next thing that came up, which is which is an indication of our schizophrenic society,
or attention,
Yeah.
or just the cycle of
or
movement
is
work.
it, or is it intention? So that's another conversation we need to have,
Right.
right? Is it an intentional kind of shifting over time? Like you can't mobilize emotion like that, but for so long before it has to be organized into something productive. And
Yeah.
people ask the question all the time, like, what did we? I know I'm switching the subject a little bit, but not much. But like, from all of that, what happened? What did we get?
Well, hey, we've got a whole list that we can't go through right now.
No, you understand what I'm saying? But like, I'm
Yeah.
talking about real tangible,
Yep.
things that really,
Yep.
kind of changed society, which is at the time in 2020, that's what we all thought. Like this shit about to change. Right now, with this global interest, awareness, and
Yes.
what's happening in the small strip of land in Palestine,
It's so small.
in Gaza, what will happen?
You said something on Monday. The number of people who have been killed or injured is twice as many as are in the city of Schenectady.
Yeah. So imagine
that everyone
two
in
cities of
Schenectady,
Schenectady either dead, dying, starving,
Yeah.
or maimed, like two entire populations
Of
of your
s-
city.
of the city of
That's
Schenectady.
what's happening in Gaza right now. Every
and,
single person
and
in
that
the entire city.
this conversation, the stories that we're willing to lift up and share, the information that we're sharing with our communities and listening to our communities about, allows us, and I really believe this, and I know I said it before, it allows us to start to have conversations we never would have had before. Because folks say, why are we only talking about Palestine? One, we're not only talking about Palestine. Because yes, there are issues with the Congo and Haiti and lots of other places. And
Sudan.
There is an interconnectedness because we live in a global society.
The systems of violence parallel everywhere.
Yes. And how it is connected to who is in power and who is benefiting from their suffering. The Congo is suffering for our phones, for our Teslas. And I don't mean our, because I ain't got a Tesla. But the technology that we use, it is not that the Congo is a poor country. It is rich in resources that have been exploited by the West and others.
That's right.
So the same West that is providing bombs to the state of Israel to kill Palestinians to take more land. The same country that was founded on genocide and the enslavement of people. Yes, people, it's all connected.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. And the media, the mainstream media is not going to tell us, which is why please look for Sanctuary for Independent Media, Mohawk Hudson Magazine, Al Jazeera, Democracy Now! There's a list that we've shared previously. Later today, I'll find it, drop it in the comments, so that folks have some other resources, right? Because we are also accountable for where we get our information.
That's right. That's right.
That's what we do.
I mean, we still gonna be here. We're still gonna
here.
rock out. We're gonna make sure we're having these conversations.
Every
We're gonna
Friday.
tell these stories
Every
single Friday. Stay tuned as we continue to be out here, man. And we're thinking about we've thought about, and I certainly thought about how to change our platform up a little bit. So stay tuned to those really dope changes coming to a platform near you,
as well as upcoming guests.
Absolutely. Talking with people in the community for sure. We're going to make that happen, y'all.
There's lots. But if there's something that anyone that watches this, like, hey, could you guys talk about this or that? Let us know.
That's it. Whether you're watching it now when it's live or later on a recording.
You are the community.
Let us know what's good.
So, but that's it for today. We are signing off. We got to find a cool sign off.
I know we do. We do.
Suggestions? Anybody?
I don't know. I could play. You know what?
You're gonna play.
They not
music.
like us. They not like us.
So Sean's gonna play some music. We're gonna head out for today. Hope that everyone enjoys the weekend, has a great day. Thank you that you enjoyed the show. Share it with your friends and family, and we will see y'all next Friday. Must have hung a deep hope, deep boat, deep right, nigga, he a freak, man, damn, all I ever